Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're always digging into your sources to pull out those surprising insights. Today, we're really tackling something that, well, it touches absolutely everyone who's ever tried to learn anything new. The incredible, often underestimated power of mistakes.
That's right. We're going to dive into some really valuable excerpts from Learn English from Your Mistakes, a source that doesn't just say mistakes are normal. It argues they're a fundamental, like an indispensable part of your success. Our mission today really is to completely transform how you view those slip-ups, showing you how to turn them into direct, actionable steps for genuine progress.
Yeah, exactly. If you've ever felt that familiar pang of embarrassment after saying the wrong word or maybe tangled up your tenses in a meeting, well, this deep dive is absolutely for you. We're going to pull out the most important nuggets of wisdom to help you not just accept, but actually embrace every single misstep on your English learning journey. In Idiot, redefining mistakes, not failures, but fuel for growth. Okay, so let's unpack the central idea. Why are mistakes not just okay, but actually essential? Because when I first heard that, it almost felt, counterintuitive, given how we're often taught to avoid errors at all costs. What's the fundamental shift in perspective this source proposes that makes them essential?
That's a fantastic point, because our default programming is often like fear of failure, isn't it? What's truly fascinating here is how the source challenges that by reframing mistakes, not as failures, but as vital signs.
Vital signs.
Yeah, they're proof you're trying, that you're practicing and you're actively engaging with the material, which is just crucial for learning anything, really.
Okay, I see. And we see this played out beautifully in the story of David, a software engineer. He made a pretty significant error, actually. He accidentally sent an important email to the wrong client. Ouch.
Yeah, exactly. But instead of panicking or, hiding the mistake or giving up, David immediately took responsibility.
Okay.
He apologized straight up and quickly worked to fix the problem. And that experience, it actually taught him to double-check every single email he sent from then on.
So a practical lesson learned.
Definitely. And his manager, far from being upset, was actually impressed by his honesty and his proactive effort.
Impressed? Really?
Yeah. And David even got a promotion later on.
Wow. So what does David's experience reveal then, particularly for us as learners? It feels like it's not just about admitting you're wrong.
No, it's more than that. It's about actively engaging your brain, like your frontal cortex, in problem solving. When you confront a mistake, you're not just correcting an error, you're literally forging stronger neural pathways.
Oh, okay.
That make that information stick.
Yeah.
It's a prime example of what some call desirable difficulty in action.
Desirable difficulty. I like that.
And David's outcome really shows how transformative that can be.
Right. Okay. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, I think, especially for English learners. Sarah, a friend learning English, once said, "I finished the project yesterday in a meeting."
Uh-oh. Classic tense mix-up.
Exactly. Clearly mixing up her tenses.
But rather than letting embarrassment take over, Sarah bravely asked her colleagues to correct her.
That takes guts.
It really does. And they helped her understand the precise difference between past and future tenses. After that, she practiced, she improved significantly, and now she speaks with much more confidence and naturally fewer errors.
That's a powerful shift, isn't it? Going from potential embarrassment to proactive learning. But I can imagine for some listeners that initial pang of embarrassment might still be a huge hurdle.
Oh, absolutely.
Does the source offer any advice on specifically overcoming that immediate, negative emotional gut reaction when a mistake happens?
Yeah, it does. The key is to try and see the mistake as immediate, personalized feedback.
Okay, like data.
Exactly. Like the source shares, there was this experience where someone used the word funny to describe a problem in an international meeting, but they actually meant strange.
No, I can see how that could go wrong.
Right. The confusion wasn't a failure. It was a vivid demonstration that one word can have wildly different meanings or connotations. And that kind of immediate real-world feedback is often far more memorable than just, memorizing vocabulary lists.
Yeah.
It really highlights those tricky nuances of English that textbooks can't always capture.
Hearing about Sarah's tense mix-up, it totally reminds me of my own struggles learning Spanish. There's this one time I accidentally told someone their new haircut looked like desayuno de perro, a dog's breakfast, instead of muy elegante.
Oh.
The cringe factor was definitely real, but I absolutely learned the right way to say sharp or stylish after that. It really does stick when you make a blunder, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Because that emotional component often aids memory, kind of flags that information in your brain as important.
Right. Can't forget that feeling. 2, actionable strategies for rapid improvement. Okay, so we've reframed mistakes. They're not roadblocks or more like signposts. But knowing that is one thing. The real deep dive starts now. How do we actually read those signposts? How do we translate that reframe into concrete, accelerated learning? The source provides some incredibly practical strategies.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, these strategies aren't just like isolated tips. They're really about building active learning habits and creating a continuous feedback loop that fosters true fluency and a deeper understanding over time.
Gotcha. So first up, proactive inquiry. Many of us feel shy about asking for help, don't we? Especially when we're trying to seem competent. But the source emphasizes how crucial asking questions really is.
It's an interesting psychological barrier, isn't it? The source mentions friends like Lisa, Emma, Anna, and Olivia. They initially feared that asking questions made them look weak or, incompetent.
Yeah, I get that.
But they soon realized asking about common pitfalls, like the nuances of the word schedule, or the precise difference between say and tell, or borrow and lend, those tricky pairs, was actually a profoundly smart way to learn. Their colleagues provided easy, context-rich examples that just stuck.
Right. And here's why that's so important for you listening. Asking questions doesn't just help you avoid repeating the same mistakes over and over.
No, it does more.
It signals to others that you are eager, you're engaged, and you're committed to actually mastering the language. It shows curiosity, which, let's face it, is always respected.
Absolutely.
Okay, so beyond relying on others, the source really drives home the idea that self-practice is incredibly key.
Definitely. Think about Jennifer, who was preparing for an important job interview.
Okay.
She was rehearsing, and during one practice run, she said, "I was served many customers," when she really meant I served many customers.
The passive versus active voice.
Exactly. Her teacher gently explained the distinction. Now, this might seem like a small grammatical point, but it's crucial in English, right? Where word order often dictates meaning more strictly than in some other languages.
True.
Recognizing that specific mistake and understanding its structural implication helped her pinpoint and fix a key weak area. And guess what? She nailed the interview.
Fantastic. And it goes beyond just grammar, too. The source mentions Tom, who struggled with pronunciation, specifically that notoriously tricky "the" sound.
Oh, yeah, the tough one.
What did he do? He practiced in front of a mirror, slowly, clearly repeating words like think and thank.
Visual feedback.
And then there's John, a teacher who had a similar issue, but with the E sound in beach versus,
Right. Important difference there.
He practiced in front of a mirror for 30 minutes daily, and he even recorded himself.
And both Tom and John saw significant improvement. It just proves that targeted, consistent practice, especially when you add visual and auditory feedback, is incredibly powerful.
How so?
Well, when you see your mouth movements or hear your own voice, it helps you identify and correct those subtle phonetic differences much more effectively. You're essentially building new muscle memory for speech.
Building muscle memory. I like that analogy. Okay, so we've talked about asking for help and the power of self-correction, but let's get granular. For those of us listening right now, what are some immediate, tangible actions we can take? The source lays out some really practical strategies for daily improvement.
Absolutely. Let's start with a classic, keeping a notebook.
Okay, the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, but it's not just about jotting down words. Your notebook becomes like a personalized error log, a diagnostic tool that shows you your specific learning landscape. When you review your own mistakes and their corrections, you're engaging in active recall.
Active recall.
Which is, scientifically proven to strengthen memory far more than just passively reading something.
Right. Got it. What else?
Okay, building on that, something as simple as repeating new words aloud can make a massive difference.
Just saying them out loud?
Yeah. When you hear a new word or phrase, repeat it out loud 3 times. Then, crucially, try to use it in a sentence right away. For example, you learn on time. Say it 3 times, then say, I will arrive on time tomorrow.
Okay, immediate application.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Helps cement it. Another game changer is recording yourself.
Like John did.
Precisely. Speak about any topic for just 1 minute, then listen back. Note your mistakes, grammar, pronunciation, word choice, try to correct them, and then re-record. This feedback loop is invaluable for spotting errors you might miss in real-time conversation.
That makes sense.
And related to that is shadowing.
Shadowing.
Yeah, you listen to English conversations or podcasts like this one and try to copy how the speakers use phrases and grammar. You actually repeat sentences right after them.
Oh, interesting. Like mimicking.
Exactly. It's like a vocal workout for fluency. Helps with rhythm and intonation, too.
Okay. What else? Reading, writing.
Both. Don't forget reading aloud. Choose simple stories or articles. Read slowly and clearly. If you find a word difficult, stop and look it up immediately. This connects the sound, the spelling, and the meaning.
Good tip.
And finally, consistent practice writing, even just short messages or simple stories. Then actively check for mistakes and correct them. It's like giving yourself a mini grammar and vocabulary workshop every time you do it.
Wow, that's a lot of practical stuff. And crucially, the source points out you don't have to go it alone.
Absolutely not. The source highlights this beautifully with Daniel and Ruth, a married couple who were nervous about their English in a new country.
Okay.
Daniel once said, "We are living here since 3 months." A common mistake.
Right, the present perfect continuous issue.
Exactly. A kind neighbor gently corrected him to, "We have been living here for 3 months." And the key was they then studied and practiced that specific tense together.
Ah, teamwork.
Yeah. And similarly, Mark and Anna help each other with common confusions like bring and take. Yeah. Easy to mix up.
Totally. So learning with a partner makes handling mistakes so much easier, doesn't it? Because you create this supportive, like lower pressure environment.
Precisely. You can kindly correct each other. You celebrate the small wins together. And it turns learning into a shared, maybe even fun experience. It really lowers the anxiety stakes.
Less nervous, yeah. 3, cultivating a resilient learner's mindset. Okay, so it's one thing to have these incredibly practical techniques. All those strategies are great. But developing the right attitude towards mistakes, that seems just as vital for long-term sustained success, right?
Oh, absolutely crucial. This final section really brings it all together by emphasizing the psychological scaffolding, if you will, necessary for sustained learning.
Psychological scaffolding. Okay.
Yeah, things like cultivating resilience, fueling genuine curiosity, and igniting that intrinsic motivation, this stuff that keeps you going when things inevitably get tough.
Right. Let's talk about Robert, a businessman mentioned in the source. He initially had a huge fear of making mistakes in international meetings. Very common fear.
Very common. And during one presentation, it happened. He forgot a word, used a slightly wrong phrase.
It's a nightmare scenario for some.
Exactly. But instead of stopping or letting the embarrassment derail him, he simply smiled, took a breath, and just continued.
Okay, push through.
Yeah. And afterwards, a colleague approached him and said, "You know, you did a great job, Robert. Everyone makes mistakes."
Ah, that validation.
Huge. That simple validation gave him immense courage. Now, he practices speaking daily, fully understanding that mistakes aren't these terrible roadblocks, but just integral parts of the learning process. That boost in confidence completely changes how you approach and handle errors when they pop up.
Confidence really is key.
Definitely. And then there's Michael. He approaches learning English like his favorite hobby, solving puzzles.
Oh, I like that framing.
Yeah. So he makes a mistake. His immediate reaction isn't frustration, it's curiosity. He'll literally say something like, this is interesting. What's the right way to put this piece together?
That's a great attitude.
It is. And this positive puzzle solver mindset helped him improve incredibly quickly because he genuinely enjoys the challenge of figuring it out. He sees it as a game almost.
So what does Michael's approach mean for you, the listener? When you make a mistake, instead of that internal cringe or beating yourself up, try asking yourself, okay, what new insight can I glean from this? It totally shifts the narrative from failure to discovery, doesn't it?
Exactly. From I messed up to I learned something.
Right. Andrew's story also powerfully illustrates this. He was initially shy and quiet in meetings, and he struggled with common grammar issues like saying the project goes good instead of is going well.
Another classic one.
Yeah. But with his wife's encouragement, he started really diligently writing down correct sentences, practicing them at home.
Yeah.
He even pretended to be in meetings in front of the mirror.
Dedication.
Totally. And over time, he became profoundly more confident, made fewer mistakes, and eventually successfully delivered a major presentation.
That's fantastic.
Andrew's journey truly underscores a powerful truth, I think, that errors aren't just moments of failure, but rather like crucible moments.
Crucible moments. Yeah.
They don't just point to what you don't know. They become the very forge that strengthens your confidence and your capabilities. It's about leveraging those moments to build true resilience.
Well said. And finally, a friend named Laura shared a profound insight that really encapsulates this entire deep dive, I feel. She said, quite simply, when I stopped feeling bad about my mistakes, I started to truly love learning English.
Wow. That's powerful. Isn't it that feeling of joy in learning fueled by openly accepting mistakes? That's precisely what we want for you listening to.
Exactly.
Like building a house, maybe, brick by brick, patient, consistent effort, and recognizing that every single brick, even one that you might initially place a bit crooked, it still contributes to the overall strength and structure in the end.
That's a great analogy. Every piece matters. Outro.
So this deep dive has truly shown us that mistakes aren't your adversaries. They're actually your most reliable guides on the path to English fluency.
Yeah.
They highlight exactly what to focus on. They engrave lessons into your memory, sometimes painfully, but effectively. And they fundamentally push you to grow stronger.
Absolutely. And remember, every single fluent English speaker you admire, whoever they are, was once a beginner. A beginner who made countless mistakes. The only reason they speak well now is because they kept trying, they kept engaging with the language, and crucially, they kept learning from every single misstep.
That's such an important reminder. So right now, think about your own English learning journey. What mistake helped you learn the most recently?
Good question to ask yourself.
Yeah, write it down. Write the correct version next to it and practice saying it out loud. Maybe try doing this every day or even just a few times a week. You will see truly remarkable improvements if you do.
Guaranteed. Stay patient, stay curious, and keep practicing. Each mistake you embrace really does bring you a measurable step closer to success.